Welcome to creating an accessible syllabus, just doing some basics here. The checklist to what we're going to go over is DOCX extensions, headings, graphical text conversion and bullets, extra spacing issue, URL names, and a canvas, creating a canvas page from a Word doc. Starting to watch this video, you may say, I've already created my syllabus. I'm not going to go back and change everything, and I totally get that. I'm just offering some tips that maybe you could tinker with as the semester goes, and anything I show in Word here is pretty applicable into a Canvas page if you've already created one of those. Creating the DOCX file extension, some of the reasons why we want to do this is it's a smaller, lighter, and easier to open and repair this document, and it's one of the most up-to-date. It will also help for web page conversion, especially with formulas later, math or science formulas, if you have it in a DOCX format. So I went ahead and did a file save as, and this window popped up. I actually had to change the author to my name because it was under a different instructor because I copied their file long ago. And now I'm going to save it, instead of a Word 97 2003 document, I'll save it to a Word document, and I'm saving this to my desktop. It will come up that when it's upgraded to the newest file format, you may lose some features, which we would have to redo those features anyways, so I'm actually okay with that. And I have my new file here, but now it's actually under the DOCX, which I can see here when I looked up the properties of the file that was saved to my desktop. It is indeed a DOCX file. Next is headings. So my old syllabus here currently doesn't have any kind of headings, and headings are important because just imagine, would you want to make a student have to down arrow or click 50 to 100 times to go through all the lines just to get maybe down here to classroom conduct information or homework information or accommodations information? They'd have to down arrow, and that's really inefficient. If you create headings, what it does is basically create an outline for your syllabus, and then they can jump straight to contact information, straight to learning outcomes, straight to assessment, etc. And so I'm going to show the basics of how to switch to headings, and then I'll show an example of something that has really good subheadings. Now, when I click on my home button here, when I see these headings come up, one of the things I notice is there's not like heading 1, 2, 3. There should be more than one heading here. So I'm going to click on the bottom right, this little tiny arrow with styles, and I'm scrolling through the styles and I'm not seeing the headings. And so if I go to options, and I'm just going to say all styles, and then I hit OK, and now when I scroll through, there's this heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's great. Now I have options. So I'm going to make my title a heading 1. And my contact information, any kind of sub-information, then I'd make a contact 2. It's basically the big chunks you want them to be able to jump to. Course materials, I can make a heading 2. And you can actually modify, if you click this little down arrow and click modify, you could change the font and boldness of your headings. And so heading 2, heading 3, etc., I'll show you on one of my finished syllabus. This is one of my more recent syllabus that has the headings, and if you look at the styles when it jumps to it, I have a heading 1, I have a heading 2, and then here, even for my office hours, a heading 3, and it looks a little messy because I'm using this as a demonstration for various items. So I'm still cleaning this up, and I'm going to talk about these long URLs later, but for instance, I have this computer access heading 3, but then I also have Aptos and Watsonville, those two separate subheadings as a heading 4. To give you an idea what the student is dealing with when there's headings is it's actually, this is the outline view. The outline view, you could just switch to headings 1 or 2, so I just actually used a key to switch it to heading 2, and then I'm using another key to switch it to heading 3. And you can see this is what the screen reader would actually read through, let them jump through, instead of going line by line by line. Whereas on my old syllabus, if I look at just a couple of headings I put in, you can see these tabbed pluses and then just a bunch of bullet points. But if I go to switch to the heading 2, it only shows a couple things, and if I switch to heading 3, it doesn't show anything because I have no heading. So this is all that the JAWS or the screen reader would be able to even jump through for the student, which that makes it very difficult to navigate. Next is graphical text conversion and bullets. In my old syllabus, I have actually a graphic for some of my text, and I did that because I wanted to put that cute little symbol in there and try to make it look better visually. But actually the reader will not read this. It just says something like graphic. And so I could do an alt text and explain everything that's there, but it's a very short amount of text in there. So I'll show you how something like this we could deal with just using our Adobe Acrobat. Now, I will say that if it's a large amount of text, there's other OCR methods and all these other ways to convert. I just want to show a quick kind of trick that I did for making this text readable instead of making it a graphic. So what I first do is I just copy Control-C the entire graphic, and then I just made a new document, and I just did a Control-V paste into that document. And then I save this as an Adobe PDF document and just saved it to my desktop, or in this case I printed it to my desktop as just some generic document. And then when I open that document, so I've opened this actually as a PDF, so this is actually a PDF right now. This is not the Word document. I opened that document off my desktop, and notice I can actually grab all the text now. Whereas on the Word document when I had the graphic, I cannot grab the text. I can just resize the graphic. So I'm going to grab all this text and just do a Control-C, go back to my original syllabus, and I'm going to delete out that graphic and then just do Control-V, and now it's entering it all in as text. I put in some spaces to format my text a little bit. This little extra graphic, this one exam that was part of the original graphic came up. I'm just going to delete that out. This Chapter 7 measurement should be in with the statistics exam 2, so I'm going to put in Chapter 7 and Chapter 9 statistics, and then I'm just going to add in some bullet points here instead of having it just list. Now, I also want to say, just in terms of bullets are good because then when it reads through, then it'll read it as bullet line, so they know they're separate ideas, or if you have it numbered bullets, that's good as well. And now this reader can read this and it's no longer a graphic. Next is extra spacing issues. I want to talk about extra spacing, extra returns, and how we kind of force formatting sometimes to have it look a certain way, but then on the reader it actually doesn't really make sense. So for instance, up here on my old syllabus I had my office and then my office hours. They're all in one line. And then I have on a second line phone and then this or by appointment. I actually forced that or by appointment with tabs on the second line of phone. So when the reader reads this, it makes no sense because all of a sudden it's saying phone, blah, 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 and then or by appointment, but that's supposed to be with office hours. So think linearly that in this case, you want it to actually be its own line, and then I'm going to steal that or by appointment and put that back up with the office hours. Now this will go ahead and read it. I was trying to save space, but think in terms of web pages and think linearly. And now the reader will actually read through office hours, phone, etc. as it should. So the idea is if you're forcing anything with tabs, spaces, or returns, the reader is going to read all of that. And we're all about efficiency, and that's not efficient for a reader. So think if it's not going to read it efficiently, then it's probably not a good idea. Second item I have down here that was an issue was I used to put my pacing schedule on the syllabus. I'm not going to talk about tables. That's a whole separate thing. So I'm going to ignore the actual pacing schedule. But what I want to talk about is how from my accommodations paragraph down to schedule, I put about 4 or 5 returns. JAWS will read that as blank, 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 blank. It's really annoying. And so if you have a headings and it jumps to it, I guess it's, better than nothing. But let's get rid of those blanks. So the first thing I'm going to do is do a backspace to get myself just below that top line. Then I'm going to go to the top line above schedule, hit my right button to get to paragraph toolbar. And then on my spacing, I think it's after I want to do, I played around with a bit and I liked 30. So I'm going to change that spacing to 30 point and hit enter and see what happens. And it's not, oh, I messed it up. Okay. And so what it did now is it put that gap and it jumped straight to schedule without having 4 or 5 returns in there. Next is URL names. So I'm looking at one of my newer syllabus here, and I'm realizing that I have all these URLs with long lists of names, and the reader's going to read it as https:// and it really, again, is very inefficient. So we'd like it to read words instead of the URL. Now, what you'll also notice as you change your syllabus, at least for me, as I would change this, it made my syllabus just way more better looking, efficient looking. I really liked what it forced me to do. So for instance, what I'm talking about is when I changed this URL for my Tuesday, Thursday Zoom, and the reason I left it is I'm used to seeing those Zoom links look that way. So it almost was weird to change it. But I'm going to edit the hyperlink, and on that toolbar where it says text to display, I'm going to put Tuesday and Thursday office hours, and you could write Zoom office hours or whatever you want. So I changed it to Tuesday and Thursday office hours. Now that's a redundancy here. I'm seeing, oh, Tuesday and Thursdays, and then I have Tuesday and Thursday office hours. So I'm going to change my Tuesday and Thursdays heading with that URL link. So it's serving this dual purpose, and now it's actually just saving space. But my office hours were heading 2. So I'm going to change, and we can see up here it's heading 2, but I'm going to change my Monday and Wednesday office hours to heading 3 as a subheading. So my Monday and Wednesday is already heading 3. I need my Tuesday and Thursday to be a heading 3, and now it will jump appropriately to that. So I have a couple URLs I have to change here to be links, and then when I convert it to a web page, then it'll keep those links. Next is creating a Canvas page from your Word doc. If you don't already have your syllabus in a page online, you can take this Word document and actually put that as a page online. So if I do a Control A to select everything and Control C to copy, and I go to my Canvas page, I'm going to title this page Math 13 Syllabus Spring 2021, and then I'm going to paste it in that rich text editor. It looks like it pastes most everything okay. If I do a quick check, contact information, it does remain heading 2. One of the things you want to take out is the title, because we already have the title here. There'd be some little bit of formatting I got to do with spacing, and so I would go through that way. But if I save this, what I'll notice is that it actually saved it with all the links. And so these links should still work, and of course test all your links always. And the spacing is a little bit off, so I would fix that, but it's not too bad. At least I'm not having to redo the whole thing. Now I'm going to inspect it to show you something. So I right click and I'm hitting this inspect. Up here on the right there's a toggle device bar for mobile, show you what it would look on their phone. And then that's kind of cool. You can see, is everything wrapping around okay? Does it look really weird? Is it hard to navigate through if they were using this on their phone? So I show you this as just a copy paste into a web page or if you have the web page trying to maybe even get it back to Word, because sometimes we're going back and forth eventually when we're in the office, in the classroom again, from printing out for students versus having a web page if we're teaching it a course, the same course online. So we want to be able to go back and forth without recreating these items over and over again for a web page or for Word. So my rule of thumb right now, from the little information I know, is start with Word. It's a good place to start, and then kind of take it from there. And that's been what's been working for me. But of course, if you've already created your web pages, I'm sure taking the information from the web page and then putting it in a Word document would just be a matter of reformatting some of those spacing as well, just as we'd have to do this direction. So thank you for watching the video on the basics of accessibility on our syllabus. I think my picture of my dog having that quizzical expression kind of sums it up, like, huh? There's a lot to do, it's a lot to ask, and being an instructor myself trying to make it through all of this, I think the best starting point is if you just feel completely overwhelmed and just want to throw this stuff out the window, the very first thing you could do is email me or the TLC. I can help with more of the math and science-based issues that are happening, or even just basic syllabus questions. And TLC also has a lot of info about all of that stuff on the syllabus. And then also, just for extra help, if you have just questions or you want help doing the actual conversions, you could email me your documents. We can set up a Zoom meeting or anything like that. So you're not alone. We're here to help, and I'm a math instructor myself, so all of that extra stuff we have to do with STEM, I'm here to help you figure it out along the way.